Hey guys, so this video is about the time I had a seizure. This isn't a joke, I actually did have one, which is why seizure jokes honestly irritate me. But, whatever. So, 6th grade, I think, yeah, it was 6th grade, no, it was 7th grade. Right before spring break, every year at my middle school, we had a talent show, and I went to the talent show. They had a fog machine, and for some reason after the fog stuff started coming out, I felt really nauseous and like not good. Like I felt nauseous, I felt like dizzy, like I just did not feel like myself. So like I kind of just like pushed it away and stuff, but like I was really tired, and like there was like I could just tell there was something not right about my body in that day. And then after that, after that we went back to class and everything, and I was like, okay, maybe it'll go away now. Maybe it was just from the fog machine, because like that stuff is nasty. So yeah, maybe it's just from that. It didn't go away. My dad picked me up from school and he wanted to take me to go look at a house because we were living with my aunt at the time, and we still are. But he took me because he wanted to look at a house to see if we should buy it or like rent it or anything. So we went there, and I was kind of like, just, like again, very off. I was like not feeling great. I felt nauseous. I felt tired, and I had a headache. And like my entire head felt fuzzy, if you get what I mean. Like I just was not in like the right. I just wasn't feeling right. I felt off. And so after that, we went to my mom's. Like I said, I was very like not myself at all. So I went, like I said a quick goodbye to my dad. Like I didn't give him a hug or anything like I usually do. I just said quick goodbye to him, and then went in the house. And I went and lied down on the couch, and like my cousin was supposed to come over so we could dye my hair, because like as you can see, my hair is ombre, but usually like I've done a lot of times where I've dyed my hair pink in the ends, but right now it's just blonde because it's bleached. But my cousin was supposed to come over and dye my hair pink for me, and before she came, I was lying on the couch, and like I told my mom I wasn't feeling well, and she's like, okay, that's like, I'm sure it'll pass, it's just probably from the fog machine or whatever. And then like the light was bothering me. Like there was too much light coming in from outside for me, if that makes sense. I think it does. But there was too much light for me, so I took like a small square pillow we have on my couch and covered my face with it. And like my mom was like just kind of putting on movies and stuff, and then my cousin came over, and they were just kind of chatting. They had a movie on, and I was like in and out of sleeping. So for about 20 minutes I was asleep, and then I woke up, and I stayed awake for about 5 minutes, and then for another 20 I fell asleep. And then, I'm sorry, this is like a scary story to me. Like, it's not scary, like there's nothing wrong with me, it just happened, but it's still scary. But anyway, like I'm in and out of sleep, So my cousin's just like, we can do your hair another time if you want. My mom puts on a movie, and we're all just kind of hanging out because I didn't feel like getting my hair done that night. So we're lying there, and all of a sudden my mom realizes that my arm is out like this off of the couch, which it was out at an angle that wasn't normal. So she takes the pillow off of my face, and she sees that I'm seizing. And all night, I want to add this, all night my dog, she's like a little thing. All night, usually she's pretty calm, but all night she's jumping around, nipping at my feet, being restless and crazy and everything. So we're kind of just ignoring it because she's a puppy, so that's what puppies do. They're crazy, they're fun, they're happy, they're excited, so we just kind of ignored it. But anyway, my mom sees that my arm is out weird, and then she sees I'm kind of shaking, so she moves the pillow away from my face and sees that I'm seizing. So she gets my cousin to call an ambulance because I'm seizing. And a few moments after that, after they're done on the phone, I stop and I wake up, and if you've ever had a seizure before, you know that normally people are very out of it. They don't know what's happening, they don't know where they are at first. With me, it wasn't like that. I knew immediately what was happening. I knew immediately where I was. I didn't know I was seizing because I've never had a seizure before, but I knew where I was. I was aware of my surroundings and everything. I knew what was happening. I heard my cousin on the phone with the paramedics, and I was my first concern was I don't want to go to the hospital. And I also want to add, it was when my mom was freaking out like that, it was so weird because for me, it was an out-of-body experience. It was an out-of-body experience. That's all that I can use to describe it. I was not in my body. I was watching my body shaking. I was up here watching what was happening to my body, and because at the point I was I was asleep when this was happening, and I thought I was just dreaming. So I was up here, I was watching my body seize, and from up here I'm terrified watching what's happening to my body, and I'm standing there, or floating there, kind of screaming for my mom, and nothing's happening. She's not hearing me at all. And then I wake up, and then I realize I see that my cousin's on the phone with the paramedics, and the first thing that I say is that I don't want to go to the hospital because I have fear of needles. But anyway, the paramedics get there, they come in, and they're just and they're talking to me, they're asking me questions and stuff, and they're just okay, well, we need to give you an IV, is that okay? And I'm okay. So they put it in, I'm that didn't hurt as much as I thought it would. And so they get me loaded up into the ambulance, and we go to the hospital, and there's several kids in line before me, so they take me off of the gurney, or at first, when we were at the house, they were asking me a bunch of questions, and then they asked if it was okay if they put an IV in. And I was yeah. So they made sure I wasn't looking, because that's when it's worst. So they made sure I wasn't looking, and then they put it in. And then they also, they were very hesitant of letting me walk on my own, because usually, you'll be very dizzy. Like, I'm pretty sure usually a lot of people are very dizzy after having a seizure. And, like, they feel really weak and can't walk properly on their own, but I was fine. But they were very hesitant of letting me walk by myself. So, they took me to the hospital. My dad met me and my mom there because luckily he was in the city. He's a trucker for his work, so any other time during the week he would not have been there. But he was there at that point. And he met us at the hospital. And we had to sign in to go and get like a hospital bed for me. Well, it's like, I think by the time we got to the hospital, it was like, it was like 10 p.m. or something like that. So, we're sitting in the hospital, and all of these kids are going in before me. By the time I actually got to bed, it was 1 a.m. I was exhausted because at that point I had like a pretty normal sleep schedule. I actually got the amount of sleep you're supposed to, as far as I can remember. I'm not sure, but I know I didn't go to bed as late as I usually do now at that point. So I was tired and I fell asleep in the waiting room a few times, and then they got me a bed and I fell asleep in there. And then the doctors finally came around, like, I think 1:30 probably. And, like, they're listing off all these possible ideas as what it could be. And, like, they're trying to figure out, they're, like, doing, like, the tests, like, the vision test and stuff. I don't know why they did that. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But, like, they did a bunch of the tests. They tested my bone marrow because they thought maybe that would have something to do with it. There was nothing wrong with it. They check my, I forget what it's called. It's the thing that, like, can change a lot. Thyroid. That's what it is. They checked my thyroid. Everything was normal there. And so then finally they're like, okay, well, in a few months we'll send you for an EKG, then we'll send you for an EEG, then we'll send you for an MRI, and we'll send you for blood testing. So I still had to stay in the hospital for a few hours, I think. Like, I didn't have to stay overnight, I know that. But by the time we got out of there, it was about 4 a.m. I was exhausted, and so was my mom and my dad. And so my dad drove me and my mom home because we had come in the ambulance, so we didn't have a car. So my dad drove us home, and then we got home, and I slept for a few hours on the couch. And then I spent the rest of my spring break on the couch covered in blankets with my dog, my little pupper. And she took care of me because I was sick for the rest of the week. And then, like, a few months later, or like, I think it might have even been a few weeks later that I had to go for the blood test. But, like, I missed a lot of school that year for the doctor's appointments I had to go to for that, because I also had to go to a pediatrician, because they wanted to, like, do a bunch of tests to make sure it was normal and everything, because I don't go to the doctor normally. I don't go to the doctor every 6 months like you're supposed to. That's how often you're supposed to do it, right? I don't know. But I don't go to the doctor like a normal person. I go if I have any kind of health problems. That's it. But I had to go to see a pediatrician for a few months, so that was fun. But a lot of the time, my mom would just let me take off the entire day from school. So that was great. So there was one day I was at the pediatric place, and I got my thing done, and he asked me all these questions, and then I had to go down to the blood clinic, and they tested my blood. I am not an easy kid with needles. I hate them so much. Like, they had to take a vial of my mother's blood to show me that it would not hurt. I am hysterical when it comes down to needles. I can't do it. But I finally did do it. And then after that, me and my mom went and got pedicures and stuff, and I got the rest of the day of school. Then a few months later, I had to go for an EKG. And that, I hated that test, because what an EKG does is they, like, it's the thing where they put, like, the wire on your, like, I think they put it here. I completely or no, they put it here, like, your chest. And they're, like, testing, like, your heart rate and everything. And the entire time that they're doing that, they're doing, like, color tests. Like, what I mean by that is you're looking into this thing, and they have, like, flashing lights, and they're, like, asking you what color it is. And, like, if, like, when it starts flashing, like, it'll flash at different speeds, and, like, they'll tell you to raise your hand when it's flashing the fastest. I don't know how that tests it. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. That's what I remember doing. And then after that, I had to go for an EEG, and that was fun. Then I had to go for an MRI, and MRIs are severely boring. MRI machines are severely boring. Like, you're lying there for an hour in a cold machine, just waiting for them to finish your scan. And I had to go for 2 of those, because the first one, they saw something that, like, they weren't sure what it was, and they wanted to make sure it wasn't that it was just like a blur, because they were like, I'm pretty sure it's just a blur, but just to be sure, we're gonna do another one. So I had to go get another one done a few months later. And then after that, I still had to go see the pediatrician every few months. And I don't have to see him anymore, because, like, it's been, like, I think it was last year that I stopped having to go see him, because it's been 2 years, and he's like, if it happens again, you're gonna have to come back, but if it doesn't, great, that's great. But apparently, that's something that happens to children. They just have random seizures. My cousins had them too. And it's terrifying. Like, it's like you're not even in your own body, and I can't imagine having one of those while you're awake. So, that is the story of the time I had a seizure. Don't have epilepsy, just so you guys know. I don't have epilepsy. I don't have any kind of health malfunction or health deficiency or anything like that. It just happened. I was really sick that week. So I spent my entire spring break resting on the couch. Oh yeah, and then for most of that month, I slept in my mom's bed, because she and I were both scared that I was going to have another seizure. Yep. Actually, most of the time, because I would get these spells sometimes where I felt the same way that I did the day that I had the seizure, and this was before we found out nothing was wrong with me, so I was terrified I was going to have another one. So my mom let me sleep in her bed. At first she kind of insisted on it, but that's understandable. And yeah, that's the story of the time I had a seizure. And it was not epilepsy or health deficiency related. So, I hope you guys liked this video. give a big thumbs up and comment down below and subscribe for more. See you guys later. Bye.